The first season of Prime Video's Outer Range, it was mind-bending and a spectacular start for a sci-fi western. Now, season 2 is landing on the streamer, and a lot can happen when time and space are involved. So is this season creating more chaos, or will it bring some answers along with the intrigue? As Royal and his wife Cecelia struggle to keep their family together in the aftermath of their granddaughter's sudden disappearance, the stakes have never been higher for the Abbotts, who now face threats on multiple fronts. Okay, so in a different move from how they approached the first season, season 2 will drop all 7 episodes at once. And for a show that delves into complex twists and potentially confusing timelines, I think this is the perfect move to keep everybody engaged and not lost within the narrative from week to week. And the cast returns, all continuing their haunting and mesmerizing performances. We got Josh Brolin, Imogen Poots, who has a spectacular name, by the way, Lily Taylor, Lewis Pullman, Will Paton, Tom Pelphrey, Tamara Podemski, Reid, and Olive Abercrombie, all reprising their roles. And I love how each of the characters are damaged in their own ways. No one in this story comes away unscathed, and the way each showcases their emotions can be riveting or aggravating. Now, this is going to contain some minor spoilers from Season 1, so if you haven't seen the show at all yet, you may want to bail now and then come back after you've seen the initial season. There was so much craziness just in the season finale. We had Joy finding herself back in the 1800s, where indigenous tribes were settled on the land. Luke Tillerson went ham on the earth and dug a hole that then revealed the black substance, opening a way for a crap ton of bison to stampede through, which then trampled Autumn after the shootout she, Billy Tillerson, and Royal Abbott had as they sped along the road at night. And while all this was going on, Amy disappears from the rodeo, putting Cecelia into a huge state of panic. Finally, in what might have been a tremendous bombshell, depending on if you figured it out prior or not, Royal believes that Autumn is his granddaughter Amy. And that's then where this second season picks up. I love the complexity of the series. Story is slowly unfolding, much like the pace of a good Western movie. But sprinkled all throughout is the concept of time manipulation. Now, I don't necessarily want to call it time travel, but maybe that's what it is. But the black substance, it also works in other mysterious ways. When ingested, it provides the user visions, maybe of the future, or maybe only just possibilities of what could happen. Either way, though, when people ingest it and their eyes go full black, it's unsettling and freaky. And it also left up to us to then try and decipher the imagery that we're shown. We're right along with the characters, working to solve the mystery of their visions. Now, I was full in on Season 1. Started strong with its mind-bending premise and enigmatic air. And the glimpses we were shown of undefined events added to the intricacies of the storyline. For example, we're shown Royal coming out of the hole at night shirtless, and then surrounded by people he knows as bright lights shine down on him. Or then when we see a large group of people who are all wearing yellow, just giving this impression of some sort of cult. Now, because these were briefly introduced and then left on the back burner in Season 1, it created suspense for what's to come, as well as made me look forward to some of the reveals. In Season 2, we do get more insight into what's going on, and we still aren't really, though, told how the void or even the black substance works, or how or if it can be controlled. But we are shown ramifications of actions and decisions, which of course then lead to further entanglements. But with the fun of the expansion of the story, especially as we see some of the background cast from Season 1 take on larger influence in this season, there are still some areas that are frustratingly ignored, leading me to worry that the story is going down a path that's similar to the series Lost. And to be clear, I don't need or want all of the answers, but this season felt like it barely progressed the needle in terms of story movement. We get more and more character development and many dramatic elements that can keep the show engaging and exciting. But what worries me is that they seem to be piling on more and more dilemmas in maybe the hopes that some initial story beats are just going to be forgotten. Now, I'm still holding out hope that everything that has been introduced will be resolved. But because we've all been burned before with premature cancellations of shows, I don't want to get so invested into the storytelling to then be left hanging with nothing but unresolved story arcs. Now, earlier I mentioned how the acting is still stellar, and there are a few standout performances that kept me glued to the screen when they were on. Imogen Poots continues to deliver unbridled intensity that's also steeped in vulnerability. And I'm not sure if she's really all that vulnerable because she can hold her own in just about any scenario. but it's engaging to see how Autumn uses that trait to draw others to her and then have them act on her behalf. Tom Pelphrey gets more prominence this season, and I love the stoic but also explosive personality that he gives to Perry. He's got this reserved presence, but one that still oozes emotion. We can see so much that's boiling just under the surface, and I loved waiting to see if we'd get any of his powerfully quick punches that down his opponents. Tamara Podemski, who plays Joy, she was wonderful, providing the viewpoint of the indigenous people who are either used or taken advantage of by whites and the government. She's got an excellent dynamic with Brolin's Royal, as they both share strange and undefinable experiences. And I enjoyed watching her move through stages of grief, as well as just trying to cope with the knowledge that she has as she deals with being in the past. Now, finally, one of the other standouts for me this season was Sean Sipos as Luke. His dynamic with his dad and brother, was heartbreaking, but it's also engaging as he feels pushed in directions while trying to impossibly please them. There's this moment that is both justified and satisfying from a story perspective, but I also love the pain strife that streaks across his face as he makes realizations. All throughout this, we watch his actions have consequences, and no matter how privileged a character might be, every action produces something. Now, in addition to not being fully satisfied with how the story piled on more arcs without beginning to resolve any of them, there were a few sequences that felt almost gimmicky simply because they were so wildly different from the rest of the presentation. Billy Tillerson, played by Noah Reid, is a musical character. In season 1, we watched him sing all sorts of songs, and many of which I thought were done extremely well. Well, we get more of those this season, but the production also begins to introduce what feel like hallucinations as the songs are sung. One time, we got animated graphics along with the live action. And another, it became so much like a fever dream. I understand the purpose of what we're shown and why the aesthetic is chosen, but it still felt out of place for the rest of the narrative. Now, for a series that patiently moves through its storytelling, fully embracing the Western vibe, there is a tremendous amount of urgency that's present throughout the series. More than a few times, characters are racing against the clock, either to get to a destination or to prevent an action from occurring. And in each of these, we can feel the pressure that's mounting on the characters. The situations don't feel contrived or exaggerated, but instead tangible and realistic. At least as realistic as they can within a sci-fi. So overall, the second season of Prime Video's Outer Range continues to deliver mind-melting intrigue that's a spectacular mix of family drama and treacherous mystery. The acting is captivating, with each actor owning their performance to craft relatable personas. And while some visual elements don't necessarily fit with the vibe of the show, and more complications are added to the narrative without resolution, the storytelling is enthralling and continues to draw me in, just like the void calls to the characters. There's no sex or nudity, a lot of profanity, and a bunch of violence. I give Season 2 of Outer Range 4 out of 5 couches. So are you into this show? Who's your favorite character from Season 1? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this review, please give it a like. Also, don't forget to share and subscribe. I'm Chris. This is Movies and Munchies. Thanks for couching with me.